All right, good morning, happy Monday. Let's go ahead and start off like we normally do on the news events. I'm just going to scroll down to the economic events if you want to follow. Um, not there's news this week, but I don't think anything that's going to like rock the markets, right? Unless something comes out outside of the economic parts. But we have our standard stuff, right? You got retail sales, which is going to move the markets. That's really all we have tomorrow. Today, there's really nothing. You can see there's no three heads. So nothing super duper impactful as far as this part goes. Um, we'll just look. I like to look on Mondays a couple days out, just as kind of plan as far as the ATA how that goes as well. And then we have crude oil inventories. You have the expectation here. Building permits. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really rock the market. So jobless claims, tends to move the markets a little bit. It's expected to go up. Keep in mind, it was expected to go up last time, and it actually went down. And so they're expecting it to go up again. So we'll see if that goes down again. So, and then not a lot Friday. So keep in mind, these are. It's a good thing when there's the basic news, right? Nothing that's going to just rock the markets because our ATA, the automated trading that we do, it does really well in most news events, right? But obviously, you get some crazy ones where SPY moves, $6, $7. I mean, it's tough to read those as a live trader, let alone as a bot. So let's talk a little bit about the market. We'll talk about Friday, kind of what we did, what we've seen. This is actually Ethereum. Let me get back to my SPY. There we go. Let me mute those. All right, so I'm gonna go to the 2 minute. That's typically what we trade on, anyways. And then let me open up the. I'm gonna take off these TP lines just to minimize a little. All right, so let's look at the SPY on Friday, kind of what we did. So you can see Friday market opened about right here. Notice this white line up here. This is what I drew. I think a few days before. This was the first peak, and then the second peak we drew it on Thursday. So this was kind of the line, if y'all remember Friday morning I was talking about. And so we had a really good setup call here. You can see you did get that setup call. Let me change the time. For some reason it didn't like the harmonic pro load there. And you can see we called a short right off of that with the back crab, right? I mean, off the line. It was just a really good put call right here that we were able to play. And then from there, we just kind of created that lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Kind of continuance. And then you can see towards the end of the market down here, we just kind of went flat, right? Through, after market close and then kind of on for a while. So now kind of what's next. So as far as the SPY goes, let me mute this. This is kind of the channels that I'm following. If y'all want to mark those, starting at Monday, July 10th, 12 o'clock, and then just kind of roll that up through all these. And you can see we're just kind of almost right at that. Now you also have this here as far as our high. So you can see we are on the lower part of that. Now what does that mean? So what that means is this is going to be a key area to watch today, because if what's going to happen is, I'll go on the 2 minute, then we'll go up. But you have the 200 EMA here. This is going to come down and it's going to squeeze it. So we may get another push up because we have held support here, here, and here. So we might have a push up to hit this. Now this is going to be the key, because if we break this, we've now stayed above this range and we're likely to push as high as 450 or even higher, right? However, if it comes down and it cannot break that, it just does this and it squeezes, 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 then it's likely to collapse through this line. So if this line collapses, the next level of support I would look at would be maybe 447. You can probably mark a line in here. The reason is because you have your resistance here, you have your support here. So I would probably mark it somewhere about here. So let's go ahead and mark that. So there is a chance that we could still break this and then find support here and then rock it back up, right? Very possible. If you look at here, you can kind of see you have your peak here. your higher peak. We have an equal peak to this side, and then we now have gotten a lower peak equal to that side, and then now we're down in this range, right, which is this side. So if we can't break past up this and we squeeze down, then we're basically in our descent, right, from the push up. So this line is going to be huge. It's going to be a big one. So let's see how that line matches up with some higher time frames on the EMAs. I'm going to start out by the 15-minute. So the 15-minute, you have the 200 EMA down here. So the squeeze of the 21 SMA and the 200 EMA would be around the same or close to what we were marking, right? So we had 447.33. The bounce of the 15-minute be about 447.66. So it might get an early bounce if it does break this line. Let's take a look at the 1 hour and let's see how big that separation is. So this is what I talk about on the gap fill separation. So this is all the way down to 442. So if we break this line and it collapses the 447, the next stop it'll probably get a big bounce. It's going to be 444. That will pump back up to about 446 or so before it comes back down. I think that regardless, you look at the 1 hour 200 EMA, even in the craziest pumps, right, we always come down to retest it. And then we had another crazy pump, right, like this. At some point, this week, we're going to retest this. Now, whether we retest it here or we retest it up here, there's going to be a big difference, right? Because this is 442. If it continues upward, like around here, right, that trajectory, then you're looking at like 445, right? So it's very possible to, be kind of bounced somewhere in there. Now, the interesting part is if it takes, a few days, let's say Wednesday or Thursday to get down here, this line would actually line up with this line here, right? And then, you would see something similar to this where you'd have your kind of your shoulder, your head, your shoulder, a bounce, a retest. Then you'd have it come like this, a little bounce, pull back through, a bounce, a rejection, right, which would take you right to where that would be. This would be somewhere around there. And then this would be our push north, right? That's kind of our long-term bullish, short-term bearish trajectory. Now, on a short-term bullish trajectory, what I would need to see is we need to flip this SMA back over it, right? So which is going to be about 449.44. So if we open the market bullish, because we are on this bullish trend line, right, we might see something where it comes up like this, like, maybe up a little bit, comes back, retests the line for that kind of, extra support bottom, come up, reject off of there, get a higher low, and then that would explode us, right, up like this, and then I would look for support, which will likely come back up and hit this line here, and then have a pretty good rejection. Because of the prior high right here. Now, again, it can stay in this channel a little bit longer and actually break up here, right? But that's what I'm looking for. Everything in trading is end or if, right? Nothing is certain. So my end or if would be, or I guess it'd be if then end. So if we were to break this trend line and find resistance on the trend line, then we're going down. If we were to break this 21 SMA, right, getting those higher lows, and we were to find support to push us over this prior resistance of 450, then we're going up, right, temporarily. So that's kind of whether I'm going to play the puts or the calls. With the news not being too crazy, I don't know that I suspect any major like movements. I suspect we might, go up a little bit, go down a little bit, go up a little bit, or vice versa, right? And then just kind of range between that, 447 and 450 range is probably what's going to happen. So, but we'll keep an eye on that. If you're not trading in the room, we're going to be answering any questions on the trading floor, send out signals as we see them. But trust the indicators as well, right? I mean, the indicators, they do really well. So our harmonic pairs have been able to capture most all of this. So I'm going to leave all the other lines, but I'm going to delete this one here. Let's talk about tech stocks. So as y'all remember, we drew these upper and this lower for Apple. It was a pretty viable line. I mean, it held resistance for a while, tried to hold it. It did act as support, which caused a burst north. And then it just kind of rejected from there. So what's next for Apple? If you really look at it, right, it almost to me looks like it's gearing up for another push retest of the 194. So I would be really careful taking a put on Apple. You kind of have like a little bit of a shoulder, head, and shoulder here on the 1 hour. And it's kind of right at that neckline. Now, it doesn't mean, remember, all the patterns don't always play out, right? We could reject. And if it does reject, typically it rejects in a pretty big way. So, what I would probably recommend, is take this line here, and I would take this line. We'll pull this line here. I would watch this area here. If you happen to see a break above 191.57, a push, don't buy in on the push. Wait for the pullback, then take that call, right? And you should be able to ride it north. However, if we stay below this line, it's gonna collapse it. It's not gonna break it. So that's kind of the line that I'll draw. So I'll leave that on there. Let's talk about Google. So Google, if y'all remember, we were following kind of this rounded top, had a possible inverted cup and handle, and then that began to actually play out. We called the inverted cup and handle up here, right? So from 121, I mean, it fell all the way to 116. So that was a great put regardless if you got in up here when we talked about it. But we did talk about the strong support here. Even our zone tracker called it as strong support. And the strong support held, right? So we had our kind of stop hunt candle here, and then it just kind of went parabolic from there, right? But now look where we're at, right? Always play the range. Now, if you're taking a call on Google up here, you're nuts because we're literally at the top of the range again. It's not worth it. Can we go up higher? Sure. I mean, absolutely. We could go all the way as high as 131. I mean, you can take some of these wicks like this, right, and pull it across, and I mean we could work our way all the way up to here, 134. But to me, chasing this is not worth the potential of that fall back down, right? So yeah, so I would, as far as Google goes, I'm thinking more put than call, but wait for that put setup. Don't just jump right in, right? But you can see on the 1 hour, even the bearish divergence is pretty strong. And we did just flip red, right? So it's really honestly setting up for a really good put for Google. Because, like I said, we could go up higher and touch this line, but tons of resistance it has to get through before it can even do that, which it would need some news to do. So just play your range on Google. Microsoft. So looking at Microsoft, we had the same thing as Apple. We had our little kind of drawing, found support here, bursted through. And then if you look here, we did have our kind of push up, our retest of the SMA here. But it is collapsing on the SMA. You almost kind of have, if you go to a higher time frame, it's like a double top here, right? It hit this little area, hit one time, and then rejected. So we're currently below the SMA. If you want to take a call, I would either take it on a bounce around 338, 339, or I'd wait till it flips the SMA bullish, right? Get on top of this SMA here, the 21 SMA. Currently we're below it, which typically causes a little bit of a ping pong, right? And so with this being the neckline, if this breaks, it's likely going to pull down to about 338. That's where you'd want to flip to the call. The 1 hour divergence is red, so as long as this is red, typically I don't take a call anyway. So, and you got to look at where was the peak, right? I mean, it literally rejected right off of the exact same place that it rejected here, and we had a complete breakdown, right? So I would be really careful on calls also on Microsoft. So let's look at Amazon. I'm just kind of doing the 1 hours here. So you can see Amazon rejected right off our line. That's awesome. So remember we drew this line off of this peak here. This was Thursday. And so you can see we had rejection, rejection, rejection. I think we drew it like starting here actually. Yeah, because I think I used these two. And you can see 1, 2, and now 3 times. I mean, if y'all are trading Amazon, I mean, those are just great put setups that you've had there. So as far as Amazon goes on the 1 hour, I mean, it's looking like it could be very head and shoulder-ish. So you might get a little bit of a push test north. If it can't break 134.72 or 135, I'd watch for that round of losing of support, and then you could ride that train all the way back down to 130 or so. And it may actually, get enough steam to get up to 136 for the potential double top as well. So, that's kind of the range. So far, this line has been great. If you get up to 136, you can ride that put. If it stays above this line of 134, right, then you might be able to get a quick scalp call, but I would just be really careful for the fall. We still have to get all the way down to about 130 before it retests that 200 EMA. So let's talk about Tesla. So Tesla played out perfect, actually, guys. Look at this. So we had called this bull flag back on Thursday. And so we had called this on the room. You can see it had a big loss, kind of fall here, right? It found support, had its double bottom, broke up, found its support on the neckline, and then that is, if you look at my Thursday video, that's what we had called, is that, if we do get that double bottom support, right, it's going to be enough to push it through the bull flag. And then, my anticipation on the bull flag is that we would come up here, which was based off of this line and this line. And you can see literally in the pre-market, we're actually like right there. So what does that mean for Tesla? It means I would not take a call right now. Don't take a call on Tesla. The bull flag has already played out. Anything right now is going to be just FOMO. So let me give you your end or if for the day if you wanted to play Tesla. So if it is to explode north one more time, right, in the open market, then it comes down and finds support. I would wait for almost one, maybe even two bounces before I'd enter that call on that bullish engulfing. And then when that, hits, it's going to just absolutely rocket like that, right? So that would be a great call entry. Aside from that, I would not touch a call with a 10-foot pull on Tesla because it's already rejected here, it's rejected here, it's rejected here, and now it's starting to reject here. We do have gap fill that needs to be filled. And the 200 EMA is all the way down to 270. So, I mean, it's almost setting up a better kind of put situation. So, if you wanted to take a put on Tesla, I would wait for on the 1 hour or 15-minute, get some kind of like bearish engulfing type candle, right? You don't want to enter a put right now because, I mean, we still have some bullish strength coming on. You want to wait until this candle flips over to a red candle that engulfs that wick, right? And then that's going to basically show you that the bears are stepping up. Also, keep in mind the divergence hunter on the 1 hour is still green. Remember, we just talked about puts are not really safe while your divergence hunter is in that green, right? And so you can see like here, an example, right? This is that green. We did have the divergence, and then notice right when it flipped red, right here, right, it flipped red, and then boom, that was a great setup on a put. So, it keeps you safe, gives you a better entry. I mean, you could have, entered here, right, somewhere in here, but then if you look at it, you had a better entry coming up here, right, being patient, waiting for that setup. So, but Tesla, like I said, I mean, it's had some crazy strength. I think it's due for a pullback, but it still has some room that it could run. So, if it does get an explosion up like this, then I would wait for this to actually act as support before you take that call. Otherwise, you're just FOMOing, and there's so many other better opportunities. But the ride down on Tesla is going to be very, very profitable. Let's see, Meta. So Meta, we were following this one here. You had your two peak that broke. This is kind of what I was talking about how Tesla, if it does it right. So Meta did what I was talking about on Tesla, where it broke it, found support 1-2 hours right after. Then it had the bullishness up like this. And notice the volume didn't really pick up until, right about here. Then people were skeptical right here, right? And, right around once it started to hold support in here, right? That's when everybody kind of kicked in and was like, okay, I'll buy now, right? But look at here. Now we have a 1, 2, 3, right? Kind of a triple top look in there. And we're beginning to break down, right? Where the indicator's calling it as a double top, but regardless, the outcome's the same, right? So we did break down on here. The SMA, we are below it. So I would look for this candle. If we come up and reject off about 306, 307 on Meta, I mean, that's just going to set up just a great put. The only thing I would be careful on is it did have a lot of time to cool off. So we are in the lower on the RSI. So if you do get that rejection and pullback, just be careful of the big bounce, right there. With the strength that it's had, I would suspect that it's going to hold above this 200 because it's done it 1, 2, 3, 4 oscillations. So if you do get that breakdown and you miss that put, just wait for that call setup, because I think the bounce will be pretty good. All right. One thing I haven't done a lot is Netflix. Actually, I just recently put Netflix in here. Um, so let's take a look at Netflix. I haven't really charted it. I'm just going to mute the harmonic one for now. But I noticed a lot of people asking, and people in the room were talking about Netflix. So first thing, you know me, I always like to find my bottom, right? So this kind of stands out to me right here. You can kind of see we had support, higher support here, and we had a lot of support within there, right? So this is definitely our lower line. To find our upper line, it looks like we're going to have to go to more the daily. You can see here we only really have one peak to go off of, and that peak as well here. So it's more likely, instead of a downtrend line, that we might want to use more of a horizontal line. So if you look at it, we had strong support within this range right here, right? So whatever acts as strong support is typically going to be strong resistance. So let's just kind of put this line right about here. And that's what we're going to watch. One of the things we can do just to see how it goes is just pull it down, and we'll just grab the peak of where it's at right now. Yeah, just to see that if that is our rejection point. So I'm going to tighten that up just a little bit, and then let's see, let's tighten this up a little bit. I'd say about there. There we go. So that's kind of the range I would play for Netflix. You can see we're up in the higher part of the range. When would I take a put on Netflix? Well, what I would do for Netflix, you can see on the pre-market, it's actually pushing north a little bit. I would like, if you look at the daily, it stayed above this SMA. So you have 434 would be a break line of that. And you can also see we're actually starting to curl a little bit. So it's kind of setting up for a really good put. But let's take a look at the hour. Let's see where we are. Yeah, so the hour, you can see the 200 is not really that far. 438, you can see we are below the 21 SMA. So we might ping pong, probably get as high as 445.82. Pull back down to 438. So this is the range, you want to take your calls here, your puts here, right? And just play that range with Netflix. So we'll leave those up and we'll see how that plays out. I'm going to jump into Bitcoin just because I want to make sure I have enough time. Actually, let's look at the dollar. So the dollar took its beating. We'll do the dollar before we jump into Bitcoin. So let's stretch this out. All right, so the dollar took its beating last week with the news. But you can see, since it's whooping right here, right, we have created a higher low. It found its support around the 99.5. We got our higher low. Let's take a look at the 1 hour and just see how that looks. So I had support at 99.37. Let me see where I kind of pulled that. Yeah, it looks like a pretty rough line here. So actually, this should be a little higher. We'll pull off of this peak right there. But either way, it did not hit it right. It looks like it bounced right around this area here, which was, you look, we have resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, right? So it's not surprising that it bounced there. So I'm going to pull this up just to the bottom peak of that, and we'll use that as our threshold, right? So, but going to the 1 hour, we do have support. Do we have more room to fall? Sure, but there could be a push up, right? If you look at it, it's kind of beginning a little bit of a very double bottomish kind of push here, which will get us back up to about 100.8. That would pull the SPY down a little bit. Again, I don't think we're in a position to crash. I don't think we're in a position to explode. The dollar's already really low. The bottom I see the dollar getting to was right around here, 97, 98. So we got a little more room it can come down. I just don't know that it's going to come down that far without some news to push it down that far. So just kind of play that range. So let's jump on Bitcoin. Man, I'll tell you, Bitcoin, look at our indicator here. We caught the short, caught the long, caught the short. I mean, just absolutely freaking crushed it, right? Look at the 5-0 call right into the ABCD extended with the short. You have the double top, to call that. And then so far, it has the 5-0 with the crab, right, which did get a nice little push up for a scalp. but it has not given you that long call yet. And that's the thing is, we use the harmonic part of it sometimes for entries, but it's more of a supportive indicator, to where if you get the right stuff, right? So like if you got the ABCD index, the double top, boom, got the short call, take it, right? It's coming. That's the indicator saying it's coming. So let's go ahead and zoom out. I'm gonna mute this one just temporarily. And I want to show you all. This is what I talked about. Okay, so not yesterday, today's Monday. Friday, we were talking, actually, let's see, Thursday. So this was Thursday morning. We had talked about how, we could get an explosion north. This was the white line that we've been following for some time. It was literally a derivative off that. This one here, this one here, and then again, it just happened there. So what I talked about is that if we do get an explosion, it's going to set up a great put around 31.6 or so, 31.550. I know some of y'all caught that I keep saying put. I get mixed up on the crypto options now that I trade more options. Y'all know what I mean. So, the short setup right here was absolutely perfect. I mean, just if you rode that train down, it was so profitable. And then like we talked about, we're just ranging between 29.9 and up into this range around 31.5. I mean, this is literally like a scalper's dream. I mean, you have your pump, you have your short, you have your push. Just so much money to be made. Like if you're a long-term investor, you don't really like this kind of ranging because it's not really doing anything for you, right? But for us, we love it. Keep in mind, we are lower in the range here. We just talked about with the Dixie getting a little bit of a pump. The SPY's definitely got some room to pull back. If the SPY starts to pull back and the Dixie starts to pump, right, we could collapse this, right? And I have a low all the way down to 26.6 that 27 maybe, that I still think we need to hit. If you look at the EMA, SMA, so we have, let's zoom in here. All right, so you can see this is the 200, this is the 21. We're actually not only below, we had our death cross here, right? Which we've had it a couple times down here before, right? It's just kind of weaving. But we're hanging below this 21 SMA. So if the 21 SMA happens to pull down and we get that squeeze and it's enough to break this support, right? Expect a pretty decent fall. I still think we have some room to cool off. You can see we're a little bit entering that over sold territory, but we are red and we're aiming straight down, right? So you wouldn't want to take a long quite yet. So I would kind of hang out. Our indicators have called it, right, pretty well. It's really, you can see right now it's bleeding, right? It's getting into that moment of truth. So, but this is the area to watch, the 29.8, 29.9, somewhere in here, right? If we collapse this with any kind of strength, the fall is gonna be pretty nasty. So if you want to take, if you're one that's bullish and you're like, oh man, I want to take a long only, I don't trust the shorts, right? We're in a bull market, whatever people are thinking. I would just wait for some kind of support, right? Look at all these green candles. You didn't miss it, right? All these green candles, you didn't miss it. There's plenty of room to go up. But you definitely want to just not take it when you have nothing but red and you're below that SMA. I would be really, really careful on that. So I only got about 2 minutes left, so let's jump into the ATA here. So my plan for the ATA today, I was kind of playing with a few options. Obviously, we're out of everything, so we don't need to run a third indicator now. It has done really well on its calls. It struggled a little bit on its puts, but I was kind of hoping, to be honest with you, that we were going to open at like 450, 451 today, because then I would have just probably taken only puts. But we actually got a little bit lower in the range, so I think we still have opportunities to take some calls, even if it does come down a little bit, right? There's a lot of support within here, 445. So even if it does get stuck, right, it can take that DCA. So we're definitely going to take some calls. For those that are following copy trade, I'm going to be doing Tasty Trade, Parabolic SARS. I'm doing Parabolic SARS because it's a little more passive. It's not as aggressive as the other ones, and the range is high, right? We're still high in that range. But I don't want to not do calls, because I do think that being in the market that we're in, right? We're still going to get a lot of influx up. So we definitely want to still run it. I'm not going to take a trade right away. I'm going to give it about 15 minutes before it takes that trade. And I'm going to stop about 3 o'clock, we'll say. So we're not going to take any more trades after 3 o'clock. I really don't want to, although we're doing a 4-day contract, I'd prefer not to carry stuff over to the next day. It's just too unpredictable, right? But if it does, I'm not too worried about it on Monday. At all. So that's why I don't mind letting it go till about 3 o'clock. I'm not going to close the trades at the end of the day because we are going to do 4-day contracts. Strike price we'll leave at 0.5 because we are doing the 4-day contracts. This was pretty default. And then for the longs, I'm gonna take this off for now, and then I'm just gonna monitor. I'll monitor that as we go if we decide that we want to add that in there. So let's change the date 17. Keep in mind when you're trading options, your risk is pretty much the contract price, right? So by the time you get to 1%, you pretty much lost most all your contract price anyway. So we either are going to do a lot tighter one, or there's no point in putting it on there, right? We'll ride that out as we go. So 717, okay, yeah, so we're good on this. So let's go ahead and set that alert. ATA, copy, call. Now let's just make sure that alert goes in. So let's talk about puts. Puts, I'm going to go a little more aggressive because I think even if we go up, there's so much resistance around 451 in this range that the DCA will capture that anyways. So I'm okay with taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach to the puts. So I was testing them out. I do like the moving average on how it would have performed in the last few days. I had some really, really good trades, as you see here, for Friday that it would have had. So I'm going to still do the 4-day contracts, 9:45, 3 o'clock is the end. Same strike price, same DCA, same thing on the stop loss. I have the date. So we'll put the 17th, 9:30. And you'll see the yellow candle will pop up right at 9:30. So, but we're not going to start trading till 9:45. I like to let it kind of settle a little bit before we jump into there. So we will go ATA, copy, put. So that is the settings that I will be running for the copy trade today. If you want to see it again, you can watch the recording, pause to read. I don't want to stick on here too long because we are a little bit over our time. And this is the settings for the put. Again, you can pause to read. So, but that's the plan, guys. So I have both of the alerts are set up. We are good to go. Super excited. I know it's going to be a big week for the ATA. I know many of you are joining and starting to jump on board with the ATAs, yeah, excited to see how this rolls out today. So appreciate y'all joining, and I will see you next time. If you need me, y'all know where to reach me, right in the trading floor. For those watching on TikTok or YouTube, we have our own Discord, right, in here, right? So this is where we do all of our communicating within our website. So. But some exciting stuff coming for BotJock. We're making some, always making some changes and some moves, and so we're talking about some stuff that's gonna be pretty exciting that I can't talk about quite yet. But more to come. Appreciate you guys' time. We'll see you